Hey everyone, welcome to the This Week I'm Into podcast. I'm Pete Tyler. I'm with my friend and co-host Paul Imbragulio. How's it going, Paul?
It's going great, Hans.
Good. This week we're talking about Spikeball. We have a mutual friend who plays in a competitive Spikeball league, and he really sparked our interest in this topic. So we wanted to go ahead and tackle it. First thing I want to know, Paul, is what is your experience with Spikeball?
Great question. My experience has mostly been with Eric trying to teach me in college. I know you and I have battled around the ring quite a many times, but since college I've probably played once. But I was lucky enough to go see Eric play live when he came down to Raleigh, North Carolina a couple weeks ago. So I did get a little bit of a firsthand view on the competitive side of Spikeball. What about you?
Yeah, Paul, I would say that my experience exactly mirrors yours. I've probably played, maybe 10 times total, all in college, sometimes at the beach. So I would not say I'm an expert or would know exactly how to play if it was put right in front of me again, but I would say I have done it in the past. That's my experience. I think also, Paul, before we get into more of my fun facts and stuff, maybe we should
I like fun
just
facts.
take a little step back and just actually explain Spikeball if someone had never heard of it.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's a great point. Okay. How would you describe Spikeball in like a 10-15 second pitch?
Okay, I would call it most analogous to volleyball. It's a fire pit net is what I would call it. You have a set that's a big circle about the size of a fire pit, and you put it on the ground, and then you have a rubber ball that you pump up, and it's a little bit bigger than baseball, and you hit it like a volleyball. You're on 2 teams of 2. You hit it like a volleyball into the net on the ground. And then the other team has 3 touches, kind of like a bump, a set, a spike, to get it back. And you just keep on rallying off this trampoline net on the ground until one of the teams can't return it, basically. Do you think that's fair? Would you add something to that?
Yeah. No, I think the volleyball description actually was really clear once I started thinking about it. It's like the net is just in the center and you still have 3 touches to get it back to the center net.
I think the big difference between volleyball and Spikeball that we should point out is like in Spikeball, there's no sides. Like you're around this, I'm still going to call it a fire pit net, this circular set.
But you have to play the entire 360
right.
of it. It's not like you have a half.
Exactly right. Yep. You run around the net. So yeah, there's no clear split between the 2 teams. Like you are very much up in each other's business all around the net. So
yeah, definitely some collisions waiting to happen.
Yeah, I did also learn that Spikeball, because we're talking about how it's used colloquially, was like really popularized by Shark Tank. Did you see that also?
Yeah. I remember watching the episode on Shark Tank.
You remember
and then never
episode.
Thinking about it after that. Yeah, because it was probably right when I had left the States. I feel like it became popular. I came back one summer very soon, maybe like when it was like very early on in high school, and everyone was playing Spikeball and I'd never heard of it. And everyone was saying it was from Shark Tank.
It was, I went back and I watched the Spikeball pitch. It's on YouTube to the Sharks. And I can tell you, yeah, it was in 2015. Spikeball appeared on Shark Tank. It did get an offer from Damon. He offered $500,000 for 20% of the company.
Damn.
Which was accepted on the show, but I learned that later that deal actually fell through because Damon wanted to make, allegedly, this is all alleged, Damon wanted to make a Spider-Man themed Spikeball set, and the CEO of Spikeball said, no, like, Spikeball's not a toy, it's a sport. So, creative disagreements.
Seems like it probably worked out well for him.
I think he got what he wanted. I think it got insanely popularized by just being on Shark Tank, and then he actually didn't really need the Sharks' money, which I think is true for a lot of products, but that's a different topic.
Yeah, I don't know much about Shark Tank, but I didn't realize that you could back out of deals after the fact. I guess there's probably a lot more that goes into it than what's shown on TV. No, but it's really good for Spikeball that they got all that popularity. It probably like jumped them up in sales, I can imagine.
Oh yeah, I think 100%. From what I learned, the game of RoundNet, before it was popularized by Spikeball, the game of RoundNet was actually created in 1989. Did you see that?
1989. That's earlier than what I saw. I think I saw when it got picked up again in 2013 before the Shark Tank. That was the oldest that I had seen.
Yeah, I saw it invented in 1989 and then largely faded away by 1995. This according to roundnet.world, just so you know. So
yeah, definitely
very legitimate source.
Very legitimate. That's where we get all of our good research from.
Yeah, but then the company Spikeball itself was founded in 2008. And according to a couple of different websites, up to 4 million players worldwide.
It's really popular.
It's hugely popular. That's all I was going to say. Yeah. It's like for kind of a sport that has been founded so recently, and I guess with the caveat that it did exist before and then lost popularity and then got repopularized, it like has gained traction for sure.
Yeah. And I won't give it any shade for going unpopular in the 1990s, right? But it's definitely in my world been from, parks and beaches in high school and college, and now I'm watching, 100 plus teams play it on a giant field for a weekend. It's quite shocking to the senses when you're like, wow, people take this way more seriously, and there's so much more structure to it than I would have ever thought and imagined.
Actually, 100%, because to me, before like our friend Eric got into competitive Spikeball, I knew Spikeball as basically the perfect beach game. Like it was just something you bring in your backpack, and it's easy to set up, fun to play at the beach. Didn't realize there's actually this massive world of competitive Spikeball that is actually now completely international, with like games or tournaments being held in the US and Canada, in Europe. So I just saw that it's like, right, it's gained traction. It's more than just the beach game.
Yeah. Did you notice that it came up as RoundNet a lot instead of Spikeball? I was trying to figure out why that was the case.
Okay, I definitely wanted to talk about that too, because I completely knew it only as Spikeball. Didn't realize that the actual sport is called RoundNet. Was that new to you?
Yeah, well, because the set was called Spikeball, and so I just assumed that was what the sport was called, and it seems like colloquially that is the case. Yes. So there must be some sort of like legal reason why it's called RoundNet.
I think you are exactly right. I think it was a legal reason. I think there's like Spikeball had some competitors that were making the same RoundNet.
Yeah, well, it sounds like they might have had to pivot the name to cover like a trademark or a patent or whatever kind of legal stuff goes around it.
Yeah.
Did you happen to see any like competitor products, or I don't want to say like knockoffs?
Yes, I did see. I can't remember the name of it. They undercut Spikeball's price.
Oh, the two notable ones that I saw, one of them was called Revel and one was called Slammo.
Slammo. Okay, yes. The one I saw was Slammo. That seems to be Spikeball's main competitor. Also, according to that roundnet.world website I was looking at earlier, there's also one called Bounceball, which for some reason says especially popular in Brazil. So there's a fun fact for you.
That is really fun fact. All of our Brazilian listeners are going to really love that shout out. Shout out Brazilian bounceball players. It's really funny. And, we'll get into the rules that we looked up.
I think that'd be very good.
Of the actual competitive Spikeball.
Yes.
But one of the things that I was thinking about as we were, researching this topic, and even when I went to go see Eric play live, was the difference between like our house rules that we used to do in college versus what the actual rules were when I saw him play, and just how drastically different they were.
Yes, I think that's a great idea. The biggest one that I found is in college, when it would hit the pocket, we would say, you can't hit the pocket, like redo, you can't hit a pocket. Yeah. I did find out from the Spikeball website that they say pocket's good. The only thing that's not good is rim. You can't hit the rim of this fire pit set.
Yeah, or I think sometimes you can't pocket on serves.
Oh, maybe that's actually what I'm thinking of. Okay,
yeah,
okay.
The only time you can't pocket is on serves, I believe. Oh, I think that probably spurred about as many fights between like us in college as it did in the competitive people playing who should know what pockets are.
Oh, good to know that it's still an argument at all levels. Okay.
Yeah. Because it's still a very, self-regulated sport, kind of like ultimate frisbee. Those like close calls of was it too much of a pocket, did it hit the rim, are definitely still seem contentious.
I did see at the peak top level of Spikeball, they did have refs, but beyond the most competitive of the competitive, it was all calling your own shots.
Yeah, refs, or as I learned, they call them observers.
Oh, excuse me. Okay, that's good to know. I didn't.
Yeah.
So what rules are you thinking of that our in-house rules are not matching the competitive scene?
Well, I think that the biggest one that I found is that there are like a no-hit zone around the net, and then there's a service zone or distance that you have to serve away. So kind of to talk about those in order, there's a no-hit zone, and I apologize for getting these distances wrong, but let's say from the center of your net, there's about 1.5 foot radius circle that you can't stand in when you spike it on your third touch. So if your foot touches the ground on that last hit, you lose the point. And I think it prevents people from, getting too much of an advantage where you can't tell where the ball is going to get hit at, because it kind of creates like an imbalanced amount of type of play between like attacking and defending teams.
Okay. Are we talking like tennis rules? Like if it touches the line, it counts? Like if your foot is on the line, you are breaching the no-hit zone?
Ooh, I have no idea.
That's all right. Hey, that's a great question for Eric.
Yeah, that is a good question. But and he can probably talk a lot more about how you can use that kind of area to your advantage, because I know there's a lot of actions where you'll like dive over it, because as long as your feet doesn't touch it, you can go over it.
Ooh, okay.
It's just about where your feet are during like the contact with the ball.
So it gives you the opportunity to be very acrobatic. You can fly through the air as long as you're not touching the ground.
Yeah, exactly. And there's definitely points where it's like a dive will change the direction of your hit, so it's harder for your opponent to kind of like preemptively stand in the right spot. So that's pretty cool. And then the other one, which was pretty interesting, is kind of I'm going to call it like your service line. So, I'd say in college, we kind of did a lot of gentlemen's because none of us were that great at serving. And when I say gentlemen's, I mean, you hit a ball that's easy enough to return
right,
so that you can actually get a real rally going.
Otherwise, it's just smacking it back and forth. Well, we're never going to generate a rally.
Yeah, which I'm not going to say isn't a lot of what it seemed to me like more professional Spikeball was like. There's a lot of really good servers.
Okay.
But the way that the services worked, I believe, is you have about a 6-foot distance from the center, so a 6-foot radius circle that you can stand on, and you get one step on a pivot foot, like from a pivot foot, kind of like how basketball pivot foots work.
Okay.
And you have to serve with both feet behind this 6-foot radius circle to your opponent.
How does the pivot work? Because in my mind, like if you're pivoting, I guess, is there like a backhand or something, or like or are they serving like both hands? Like which one is it going to be, left or right?
Yeah, it seemed like you can definitely serve with both hands, if you're good enough. Mm-hmm. You could pivot, right? You could either take a step with your left or right foot, as long as it's just the one. Yeah, it's definitely a mind game, and you'll see people like step out and then kind of like shimmy back and forth trying to play mind games on which way they're going to go.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I think as people were getting better in the videos that I watched on YouTube, like the more professional Spikeball players had a lot of different types of serves with different spins, different directions, different hands, like you were saying.
Yeah.
And that created like a very clear distinction between who was playing at the highest level, just with like that one aspect of the game.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. I have a couple of fun facts for you, if you want to hear.
All right, hit me with them. Rapid fire.
Okay, well, I actually don't have that many because I kind of told you everything about Shark Tank, which I thought was a really interesting part of Spikeball's history. But I went on Spikeball's website and I just saw like, hey, if I wanted to get a Spikeball set, what could I get? And there's like, the normal set, the weekender set, they called it. It's $70. There was the pro set, which I'm sure if you're a competitive Spikeballer, that's the one you have. It was at $99. And
seems worth it.
I don't know if it's worth it, but the details when I clicked on the pro set said the body of the set is more sturdy to stand the harshest of plays, and the balls have dimples, which helps players add topspin. So I thought that was really interesting.
Wow. You're going to really add some spin to your serve. It's really going to slice away from you, or whatever the term would be.
I just thought that was really interesting. There's also an American themed set that was perfect for 4th of July weekend that just passed.
We'll retroactively release this.
And then there was a blackout set that was like limited edition, and there was a glow-in-the-dark Spikeball ball included in that one. So,
for your night games.
For the night games, yeah.
Well then, Hans, let's bring on Eric, and he can give us some advice on which one of those sets we should actually be getting. Great. I'm thrilled to introduce our next very special guest, Eric Guan, who we've referenced earlier. Eric is Hans and I's friend from college and a competitive Spikeball player. We will be chatting with him about a couple of questions that we had brought up earlier in the podcast. And Eric, nice to have you.
Yeah, nice to be here, man. Thank you so much. I'm excited to chat with y'all today about Spikeball.
Cool. I guess before we start, you want to give us a quick background of yourself and maybe your a little intro to your Spikeball accolades?
Yeah, definitely. So a little bit of intro about myself. My name is Eric. I'm 25. I'm living in New York right now, New York City. I work as a software engineer for a nonprofit. So definitely not something that you would see and be like, oh, this guy is like really, really into Spikeball. But yeah, as Paul mentioned, I was friends with Paul and Hans back in college. And I think that we like to stay pretty active together. We like to do a lot of things. And one of the things that we all really enjoyed doing was, going to the lawn, going to other grassy fields and playing Spikeball. And that was always something that was super interesting to me. And I think I'm a pretty competitive person. So it was just always like super, super fun and always something that I would try and get people to do. And yeah, when I graduated, I was looking to remain active and looking for things to get into. And my local community in Arlington, Virginia had like a really, really large Spikeball pickup group. So I went a couple times. And in college, I'd like to think that I was like pretty good at Spikeball. Like I could beat most people that we played with, or at least like be very like competitive with them. So when I first went out to these pickups out in Arlington, Virginia, I was getting like worked. Like I was getting absolutely like destroyed on a level that I had like really like not experienced before. So as I was really, really competitive, I was like, wait a minute. Like I think that I can be like even better than these people if I just like work a little bit harder, if I just like practice more. Like I have what it takes. And then, yeah, that's how I just immediately started my Spikeball grind. And that's kind of what led me here.
Eric, could you talk a little bit about that transition from playing casually in college to playing against actual competitors?
Yeah, for sure. So I think one of the first things that is extremely different is mindset when you're playing against these people. Mainly because I think that, when you're playing with your friends in college or like, especially, I think a very common place to play Spikeball is like at the beach while you're just like at the beach with your friends in the sand. I think when you're playing in these situations, you're there to have fun. You're there to just like enjoy your time with your friends. And so it's like, it's all right if you lose. You're just trying to have some fun points, hit the ball in the net and what have you. And I think the difference with playing with like the competitive players that I noticed immediately was they were like very hard on themselves when they lost the point. Or like they took things very seriously, or like they were very like intentional about what they should be working on, like when they made a mistake. Basically, just to say like they care about winning and they want to do anything possible to win that game. So like the intensity immediately like stuck out to me, and that's something that I personally was looking for. Besides that, like there's like a ton of like different like rule changes and all that stuff that I can get into either now or a little bit later, but. Yeah, I would say it's almost like a completely different game.
I'm definitely interested in the rule changes, but I honestly forgot that you had started playing Spikeball before you moved to New York. How did you even find out about the like Spikeball groups? I know there's like associations within each area, right? Like I know you currently are in like a New York Spikeball association, or at least you're like relatively associated with those guys. How did you originally like find out about it?
Yeah, for sure. So when I was first looking to join like a Spikeball group back in Virginia, I was just looking for like anyone who would like play. And at first I was just playing with some more friends from college. And again, I was just like, I think that I'm better than these people. I like want to play more and I want to play at like a more intense level.
Present company included, right?
Yeah, seriously. I'm getting a little worked here.
I feel it too.
No, not you guys. You guys are really good. It's more some of the Virginia people.
Oh, thanks, man.
Okay.
I Googled online like Arlington, Virginia Spikeball community. And I found like a couple different like Facebook groups that all seemed like they weren't like active at all anymore. I found like people just like posting on Reddit asking for things. But the biggest thing for me was that eventually someone on like a Reddit thread linked a Discord to like the greater Washington area's like RoundNet Discord server. So I went in and I joined that. immediately when I joined, I was like, oh shoot, like they have like all these like different areas in Virginia that I can like play with people, as well as like DC, like Maryland. Like there's like people in all these areas who are looking to play, and all I have to do is like maybe like post in the server, give like a time, say what I want, and then yeah, like I'd be able to find people. To Paul's point about like how I got connected with other regions, it's kind of weird actually. Spikeball, I think like is mainly connected through like Discord instead of like any other thing. There's like Discord servers for like each individual region that you like go in when you're like looking for pickup or you're like looking for a partner or something. But there's also what I really like is there's like a national Discord server, which like every single RoundNet player across the country is pretty much in. So people are like in this server, they're like shit talking other people. They're like discussing like scores. They're like talking about like rules, or like they're posting fun clips. It's also like an easy way to find partners from across the country, or like, hey, I'm looking for housing when I'm traveling to like Richmond, for example. So yeah, I think like the larger Discord server is like a really good way to get included. And then when you want to get connected with people in your community, you can go in and join the Discord servers that are like local to you.
That's sick. I didn't realize that there was a national one. How's the, like the openness to people who like are not that like seasoned with the game? Like, how did you feel when you first started playing with these like really competitive guys? You know, I'm not gonna say we were great in college, but you were probably like good enough. But compared to how you are now, right? Like you're leagues above where you were in college. Like, was it hard to make that transition? Like, were people kind of like open to helping you like improve, or like even let you play with them?
Yeah, for sure. So I'll say that I think it varies a little bit from community to community, as well as like kind of like the skill level at the very top of the tree, and how willing they are to help you. So like for reference, like I think in college, like we were all like pretty good, right? Like we could hang with like any like casual player or like anyone who you would see at the beach. But like for example, like I would go to these pickups and like the top player could probably beat me like 21-3, or like, you know, like something like some like margin of victory that is like maybe like absurd or even like crazy to think about. And I'll say that there is like a pretty big push in the community, or in like most communities, to like kind of like grow the scene, because like the scene doesn't grow with like new competitive players coming in necessarily, like who are already at a high level, because those people are already kind of like plugged in. It's more so from like the newer people who come in and want to learn and want to get better. And I think I was very fortunate because the Arlington Spikeball community is run by like a really classic like OG in Spikeball. He's like really dedicated to it. He makes like content to teach people. He organizes tournaments. He's like actively like trying to like run clinics and all that stuff. So I found the community to be like extremely welcoming to newer people. Sure, like at pickups, there's always like a net or two that the high level nets, and like they're not gonna like really want to play with you that much, or like you shouldn't really play with them because they want like the high level practice, and that's like it's like kind of like an unspoken thing. But at the same time, there's like all these other nets with people who are like a little bit lower level, and they're willing to teach you, they're willing to like work with you, as long as like you're kind of like malleable and like open to learning. I think that like almost like any Spikeball community will be ready to kind of like take you in, guide you, give you the resources you might need, and bring you on your way to basically however good you want to be.
How many years have you been in the Spikeball scene, Eric?
I mean, we started playing like back in college. Like I think we started playing back in like first year or whatever. So what was that, like 2017-ish? But I wouldn't even consider that like necessarily like in the Spikeball scene. I've been like in the competitive community and playing with the community now for a little over a year. I joined in March of 2023, and what is it, like July of 2024 now? So about a year and 4 months.
So is that joining the New York Association or the Virginia Association?
That's kind of my time since I like first started. So that's like first coming out to like the Virginia Association, and that's like including my time like here in New York and yeah, all that.
So talking about like new players coming in, being willing to learn, being malleable, do you feel like you're now in a position where if a new player showed up to your New York RoundNet session, would you like be willing to just help out the newbie?
Yeah, for sure. I think that my skill level compared to where I was when I started is like Paul was kind of saying, like leagues above. It's kind of crazy, like this, like the amount of skills that you kind of have to develop going from like a new player to like a more like seasoned player. But yeah, like as like a member of the New York like RoundNet Association, we run like weekly pickups on like Thursdays and Saturdays, and like we're getting really good numbers. Like we're getting like probably like 30 to 40 people to come out to all these pickup sessions, which is like super fun. But like, you know, of those, it's probably only going to be like 12-ish players who are like super like competitive and super like, you know, sweaty about Spikeball, and everyone else is like an advanced player and below. And so we do like we try to do our best about like splitting up onto like other nets with like less experienced players and like teaching them. And if they ask us for advice, we'll like tell them what to do, or not tell them what to do, but like, tell them like how to go about things in like a better way. The leader of New York Roundnet as well, he's really, really good about like wanting to teach people. So he'll like find YouTube videos with content and he'll send that into like the Discord server for people. He'll offer to be at the pickup session like an hour early just to like drill and just like to train people about those things. I'm definitely in a position where I am like able to like help people and teach people, but I would still say that like I'm not quite at the level of like the top of the ladder here in New York. And those players who they've kind of reached like a level where they care less about improving themselves and they care more about helping others improve. And I think like it's players who reach like that point in their like Spikeball journey that like really help the community grow a lot and can help like other players get like better really quickly.
In this case, Spikeball is such a new sport. They must be some young coaches.
Yeah, definitely.
Eric, I wanted to talk to you about both me and Paul have had the opportunity to host you over a weekend for a Spikeball tournament. One in Chicago, one in North Carolina. I just was so curious about those tournaments, and we obviously got to talk to you a little bit about it, but I just kind of wanted to know if you would be able to explain the structure of the Spikeball competitive structure and the tournament structure.
Yeah, for sure. So I think how I'm going to start this is I'm going to first talk about like rule change differences between someone who maybe plays Spikeball in a more casual sense versus a competitive sense. And then I'm going to talk about the structure of the tournaments where I guess you'd see these rules implemented. I think a big difference between competitive Spikeball and like a casual Spikeball is in a competitive game, you'll pretty much always see like painted lines. And these lines are going to be painted 7 feet away from the rim. That's like your service line, and you have to serve from that point. And I think some people might know this about the service line, but what they might not know is that on your serve, you're only allowed one single step. So you can only step in one direction with 1 foot. And it's not like basketball where you have a pivot foot. You can pivot and like lift that foot. Once you take that first step, you are no longer allowed to lift any of your feet. You have to serve the ball. So that's like one like big limiting thing. I think I see a lot of people like when I'm at the beach or whatever take like multiple steps in a direction or like pivot around and like do like fakes with their pivots. But in a competitive game, you're not allowed to do that, just one single step. And then another thing is like the no-hit zone. So the no-hit zone is a circle that's painted 1.5 feet away from the rim, and your feet cannot be inside the zone when you're hitting the ball, and you cannot land in the zone after hitting the ball onto the net either. You can set in the zone, you can like chill in the zone if you want to play defense and want to like body a hit, for example, but anytime you hit the ball in the net, you cannot be in this zone. And this was implemented because before you could literally just like stand over the net and kind of like hit the ball like very easily in any direction. So the no-hit zone was implemented kind of to nerf the offense a little bit and give the defense more of a chance. Yeah, those are some of like the more basic rules, aside from, like rotate every serve, and whenever the score total adds up to a multiple of 5, you like spin in like a clockwise direction just to help out with like the sun. Oh, and I think like the most nuanced rule that I see a lot of people who play casually don't understand is something called like the soft touch rule, which is if you hit the ball onto the net and I'm playing defense, and while the ball is in an upward trajectory, if I touch the ball and it at all, like with any part of my body, not just like my body itself, but like any part, and the ball was on an upward trajectory, I can now touch the ball again and I can set it back towards the net to be put away. The only difference is that if I touch the ball, like I soft touch it up, and then I set the ball again, then that counts as 2 touches out of my 3 total touches. And when I do a soft touch on my second touch, I can't hit the ball on the net. Like it has to be like a set. So that's like something that I think is like often overlooked, especially if you go to like the Spikeball YouTube page, or Instagram page. You'll see all these comments about like, wait, that guy touched the ball twice. Like you're not allowed to do that, etc., etc. But it is allowed, just like more of a competitive rule. I think for people who like haven't played competitively before and people who are just starting out, it's definitely something to get used to. But like as you play more and as you get experience in these scenarios where you're getting these soft touches, it definitely feels like very like a lot more helpful to the defense when you're able to be like, I touch the ball and it's like going up and my partner can never get there, but because I'm able to touch it and set it back, then like now we can like get a defensive play. And it's a little bit similar to volleyball too.
Can you describe the different divisions real quick, Eric?
Talking about like the tournaments though, yeah. So there's a lot of different divisions in Spikeball. There's always like the beginner one. There's also like an intermediate one, as well as like an advanced. And in advanced, like intermediate and advanced are like if you played like a decent amount in college with your friends like casually and like you know how to hit the ball, you know generally how to set the ball, you kind of know the rules, then you probably should play like in advanced. If you can hit the ball hard at least. But like if you just play with your friends a little bit in college, you're very casual. You're like still like hitting on two a little bit. Like your hits aren't going like 20 feet away. Like they're kind of like weak and you're hitting them from like high instead of low. You should probably be in like intermediate, for example. Or people who are trying to get into competitive land there's a tier called like contender. Like you're contending to be like good. People there are like a little bit more sweaty. They're like all like grinding to improve. They're all like trying very, very hard. So that's like where a lot of like competitive players will be.
And that's where you're in right now, right, Eric?
Right. So at a tournament, if you place in the top 3 in contender, generally, I'll get to that in a second, but generally, if you place in top 3, then you qualify for the next tier up, which is called Premier. And it's like a tier of players who are like really, really good. Like most Premier players should beat pretty much like any contender players, basically. And so the Premier players are really, really good. The top of Premier, like the top 16 teams in Premier across the whole world, those people will qualify for an individual pro division. And the pro division is something that's played only at major tournaments and only at the championship. So other times, like those pro teams will just be in Premier.
Yeah, I want to know, Eric, if I was like a complete newbie, never been to a tournament before, and then I want to be the world champion. What's my road to glory?
So a big thing at these tournaments, for example, is because there's pool play, which leads into bracket play. A big thing is like point differential. Like you want to have good point differential. But for example, if you were to go to a tournament, like someone who had not really played before, and you enter like, so for example, like the pro division, you would probably lose honestly, you would probably lose 21-0. So like going back to Hans's point about being a noob and you wanted to get the world championship, if you just went to a tournament, you wouldn't be able to theoretically get that title, even if you were like, say, you never played a tournament, but you're actually the best in the world. You would not have qualified for Premier, and within Premier, you have to play tournaments and win tournaments to get points because you need points to be in the top 16 of Premier. So someone like you, for example, who would want to be from like, I want to start at the very, very bottom and I want to get to the very, very top. Maybe you enter like an intermediate tournament and you think like, oh, I'm way better than these guys. I can go to advanced. Then you go to advanced. You're like, okay, I can hang a little bit. Maybe I'll try out contender. And then, you play contender for a while. You do your grinding, whatever. And eventually you get to a point where you can win contender or get top 3. You get top 3 in contender, then you go to Premier. And now you have to play Premier for a while. And you probably need like good results at like 3 to 5 tournaments somewhere in there. So then you get great results at that tournament. And now you're pro. So it's kind of like a long journey. And there's like multiple like stop gaps implemented to stop someone who's like brand new from getting destroyed by someone who's good. Basically just like making sure that you're kind of always playing at or like around your level.
So there is a national championship in Spikeball. Did I hear that right? Like there's one tournament that is the big one?
Yeah, so it's kind of weird right now in that there's multiple kind of like circuits for Spikeball. And there's like 2 main ones. The first one is USAR, which is USA RoundNet. And the second one is the Spikeball Tour Series. And the Spikeball Tour Series is like vastly larger than like USAR. It's like the one that's been established for longer. It's one that like everyone is like trying to like grind in and all that. USAR is very new. It was started by the person who started the Arlington Spikeball Discord because he wants to like grow like RoundNet in the US beyond like Spikeball. He just wants to grow in general. But yeah, like a lot of people are trying for Premier status, and Premier status is actually only something that's under the Spikeball Tour Series. So most people go to Spikeball Tour Series tournaments instead of the USAR tournaments because they want to earn Premier. That's a big goal for a lot of players, like myself included, of course. But yeah, so there's 2 national championship tournaments, actually, funny enough. There's one national championship tournament for USAR, and there's another national championship tournament for Spikeball Tour Series. And the Spikeball Tour Series one is not necessarily a national tournament, more so like a global Spikeball tournament or championship. Like there's like European players who will come, like Canadians, like Latin American countries will also bring teams and stuff. So it's definitely a fun tournament with like a lot more teams than USAR. Yeah, the USAR championship is basically if you win it, then you get to be on Team USA. So that's like a big draw for people.
We're gonna see them in the Olympics in July.
I wish, man. I wish it'd be cool. RoundNet is still very small.
How long till RoundNet makes it to the Olympics, Eric? Give me an estimate.
I'm not sure. So there's actually a YouTube video that just came out. It's like a 1 hour long discussion between like a couple big people in like the RoundNet space talking about the growth that RoundNet would have to achieve in order to reach that spot. And I believe they kind of in the realm of like 12 to 20 years. Like a lot of growth, a lot more growth needed, a lot more more like international body to like rule over all these circuits, because like the rules are kind of like pretty standard, but like there's still like different like point structures and minor differences. So you need kind of an alignment across the world, and of course more.
How many tournaments are there? I know that you go to quite a few, but how accessible is it to people, let's just say like around the US, to find a tournament kind of like in their area or at least like nearby?
Yeah, so there's definitely like a lot of tournaments like around like the whole country, as well as like a ton in Europe as well. So I think for the Spikeball Tour Series, there's like 24 or 25 just regular tournaments, and then there's like 3 majors and then the championship. I guess I'll explain here like there's like a regular tournament and like a major tournament, for example. A major tournament is really no different from a regular tournament, other than it's been branded as a quote-unquote major. But the difference is that in a major, they generally have like a larger venue. They generally put a little bit more money into it. They want more people to come, and there's like less hard caps on the division. So for example, at like a local like challenger, which is what they call a tournament, there might be only like 32 contender teams that can sign up, or like 40 contender teams that can sign up. But at a major, for example, there might be like literally like no limit, or it'll be like, yeah, we can have like 100 contender teams. And then at a challenger where only 3 teams can get premier, at a major, it's the top 6 teams can get premier. At the championship, it's the top 8 teams can get premier. So there's a lot more motivation for people to travel to a major, because you can do worse and still achieve the same status. So it's like a big draw for people. And of course, because the majors are the only tournaments that there's a pro division, people want to come and they want to play pro. Some people come because they want to watch pro. They want to see like how the rankings are shaking up. But yeah, I'd say there's tournaments like all across the country, in like all like regions of the States. This year there was 3 in like Europe. There was like Helsinki, there was Bern, and there's one other one that I'm like forgetting.
I believe it was Belgium that I saw. Me and Paul also discussed this a little bit. Yeah, I brought those up also, Eric, because I thought that was so cool. It is international.
Yeah, it's super, super cool. Yeah, you can travel to Europe and play in the Spikeball tournament. Granted, the European Spikeball people, they have their own European series that also travels all over Europe. That's not associated with Spikeball, and that series is huge. It's super popular, super fun. So definitely recommend people go check that out. But to your point, Paul, I would say like most of the tournaments that are like more like quote unquote local are designed to be that way. Like they're designed to be like more regional, so people in the region can go and it's more of like a local feel. And the majors are designed to be like people across the country can fly to them. They're usually in like major cities like across the US. So like you'll have like higher attendance. But I would say if you lived like pretty much anywhere in the United States and you wanted to go to a Spikeball tournament, you can 100% like be able to like drive or like fly a short distance and like always be able to attend.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to touch on, right, with kind of that like regional feel is kind of the community behind it. I know we kind of touched on like the Discord server, like associations earlier, but something that I thought was really cool when I went to your tournament when it was in Raleigh, North Carolina, is just how many people like you knew from the scene that had traveled to this place, like people from like Florida, obviously like in New York, but just like all over the area. Do you want to touch on like the kind of friends that you've made? Because I know like you know people on the US, but you also have played with people from like Japan and Taiwan. Like even in those countries, you've played with them.
That's a good talking point for sure. So I'll say that the people that I've met in the Roundnet community have been like some of like the nicest people that I have like ever met. Everyone is like very, very nice. Like I think everyone is extremely competitive and they all want to win. But once like the game is over, once the tournament's over, whatever, we're just all like back to being normal and they're like extremely friendly and whatever. So like that competitive edge is definitely something that I value. But yeah, like you said, Paul, like we went to that tournament in North Carolina and I knew just like a shit ton of people like from all over the place, just because I think that I've been traveling a lot to these communities. I've been playing a lot of tournaments, and because I was originally from Virginia, I think I knew a lot of Virginia people who went to go travel down. I've been to a couple different national tournaments where I met those guys from like Florida, etc. And because the community is so small, like we like post on the Discord to each other, so it's like we like talked on the Discord as well. So sometimes it's kind of nice to put like a name to a face. Like there's like East Coast Roundnet and like West Coast Roundnet. I think generally like West Coast people all know each other, East Coast people all know each other, and there's like some like intermingling in between. But like yeah, like I think like the general region communities are super, super close, like very tight knit. Everyone knows each other. We all kind of know how each other plays. Yeah, it's a great feel too, like knowing that like you can travel to like another state, or you can fly like, you know, like 5-6 hours away, land, and like immediately you'll go there and you'll be surrounded by friends from across the country, and you can all do an activity that you like enjoy. And that's like, yeah, that's just like a really, really great feeling. Like all my close friends right now in New York are also from like the Spikeball. It's all people that I've met here. Like we play Spikeball, of course, but you know, we were able to do like other things outside of Spikeball. Like we play like a lot of volleyball, we play a lot of board games, we just like hang out in general. So I'm very grateful to Spikeball for giving me this like community and allowing me to like explore this passion with people who have like passions, you know, that are very similar to mine. Yeah, just like Paul said, it's taken me like international because the Spikeball Tour Series like is a global thing. People from other countries will travel here and like they want to play like Spikeball. So last year, a couple people from Taiwan came to visit, and they visited like New York for like a New York City tournament, and I got like really, really close with some of them. And like, you know, we played Spikeball a lot. We kept in contact through like Instagram and like Discord and stuff. And then when I visited Paul, like 4 months ago, I made it a point to actually stop by and hang out with them and play Spikeball with them and just like see, you know, what they were up to, see what kind of lives they were leading in Taiwan. Like they took me out to dinner. They like bought me food. We like hung out at the field. We played a lot. We like caught up. And I'm actually playing with one of my Taiwan friends this coming weekend in a tournament in Toronto. So super, super excited to link up with him. He's really good. I think it's going to be a blast. I've never been to Toronto. This is going to be super, super sick. And then, you know, when I visited Japan as well, like I just like messaged the Japan Roundnet Instagram and I was like, hey, like I'm a contender player from like the US. I'm like visiting. Where's your guys' pickup? And I went to their pickup and I played with them and I keep up with them on Instagram now too. They'll like be like, oh, like I saw you were at a tournament. Like, how did it go for you? And I'll like message them like something similar. It's very, very easy to connect with people in the Roundnet community because we all kind of like bond over like this like very, very deep passion we have for this like, you know, this sport. So yeah, it's been fantastic.
Yeah, I love to hear how close that you're able to keep with these people and just how like open the community is. And I think one of the cutest things about your trip to Japan is I believe you exchanged like jerseys with one of those guys, right? That was just
amazing.
Very cute.
Oh yeah,
you know, like
yeah.
kind of the end of the game, like swap jerseys.
Yeah, that was with my buddy in Taiwan. So that was actually a pre-planned. Back in January when we were ordering jerseys for New York City Roundnet, I think I might have known already that I was going to Taiwan or something. So I made sure to order 2 jerseys, one for me and one for him, because I knew that I wanted a Taiwan jersey. I couldn't like just like ask him like, hey, like can I just get a jersey when I come visit? Like I wanted to give him something as well. So I ordered a second New York City Roundnet jersey to trade with him. So yeah, now I have like a Team Taiwan jersey, and it's actually the jersey that my friend Paul, his name is also Paul. It's the jersey that he wore when they won the Asian Roundnet Cup. So Team Taiwan is #1 in all of Asia, and that's the jersey he won when they won the cup. So yeah, definitely a very, very special jersey for me. I've been saving it. Like I don't even wear it that much. I wear it on like more like special occasions or like at like in critical moments in a tournament or something. So I'm very, very excited to bust that out.
Superstition, huh?
This weekend with my Taiwan friend.
One day you'll have to get all your jerseys framed.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking about like jersey trading, for example, like one of like my like Roundnet mentors, his name is Sam Corey. He's like from like Virginia Beach. At my first ever tournament, I was like so bad. I was getting destroyed by people. He was friends with my partner, and me and my partner at the time were both new. He was watching one of our games, and he was like, after the game, he walked over and he was telling us some things, and I was like, oh wow, this guy's like really good, and he is good. He's like a high premier player. So I was like asking him for like advice about things and like how I should like be able to play better. I basically, when I moved to New York, I kept up with him. Like he visited me in New York for a tournament. He like was able to stay with me. He's visited me other times since then. He's like a great resource for me. Like I talk to him like all the time about like how to improve on Spikeball. And through that, we've become like pretty good friends. I really enjoy seeing him at all like the tournaments and stuff. When our new jerseys just came out, I ordered him a second jersey, another jersey as well. And then he ordered me a jersey of his from this coming season. Yeah, so I'll do another jersey swap with like another friend of mine from like Virginia, and I'll have like the version of his jersey. So it's just like a neat little thing I do, and other people in the community do too. Just like kind of like keep up with your friends, and yeah, it's sweet.
Eric, I want to know, because the basis of this podcast is falling in love with a hobby every week, could you just give us the elevator pitch as to why should I get into Spikeball?
I think the reason that someone should get into Spikeball is it's not that intense, and it's not like the same commitment that you might want to give to like a full contact sport, but it's still like really, really good vibes. It's a great way to keep active. It's a great way to keep that competitive edge sharp. And it's a really, really fun way to travel all across the country or even like the world if you want. It's a great way to make friends wherever you go. I've tried other hobbies, and I think like the vibes in Spikeball are unmatched. And I think it's something that like anyone who's interested can get into. And I think that like the graph to get from like I'm terrible at this game to I am pretty passable at this game and can beat most people is like not that hard. You just have to like put in a little bit of effort, and then you can really, really just start enjoying the game at a higher level.
Yeah, I love the community aspect of it. I think you've really highlighted that very well so far. I think you it sounds like you made friends, and lots of them, and international friends too. And I think that's fairly unique to a young sport like Spikeball.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely been a journey that I did not expect when I started this hobby. Like I had no idea that Spikeball would take me to these places, but it's something that I'm like very, very, very grateful that I started. Yeah, I can't recommend it enough.
And Eric, could you just like give some resources if someone was interested in Spikeball, wanted to learn more? Any YouTube channels, blogs, anything like that you suggest we can look up?
Yeah, for sure. So I think like the number one thing, if someone is like, even like if they want to remain casual, but like they're like, oh, like my friends don't want to play Spikeball that much, and I just want to go to the park and I want to just play more Spikeball, is look and see if there's like a Discord for like an area near you. Like it can be like on like just Google, or like you can look up Reddit. I think you'll find people who will post the links. So try to join like a Discord server if it's there. If you can't find a server on the internet, if you just look up a any RoundNet account on Instagram, shoot them a message and say, I'm in this area. Do you know if there's a pickup group near me? That person will be very, very open, and they'll be able to link you to like the relevant group. So I think that's like the first step if you just want to like play more. Like not even I want to get competitive, but I just want to play more. If you want to like start like improving your skills and you really want to start taking it to the next level, I think there's one channel called Round Network. They post like extremely like highly produced full game footage of like pros playing, for example. So that's a way to like look at these like games from multiple angles. They have like replays. They have like a nice little scoreboard for you. That's a good way to look at that and be like, wow, like the gap between like where I am versus where these pros at is like quite high. Just like as like a example of being like, oh, like it's not just like some people who just take the sport a little bit more seriously. It's people who are like actively like very, very good at this, and they really try. If you want to learn, for example, I think the top two YouTube channels that I found or that I looked at were How to RoundNet is one, and Revised RoundNet is another. Both these have like really, really good videos on like how to hit like specific serves, how to play defense, how to hit the ball better, all these like different conceptual aspects of the game that I think most people play from like I'm just gonna go like with my natural instincts kind of way, and like they take those and they're kind of like, this is how you like should be playing, because if you play like this, you'll actually like win games, or you'll get touches, you'll get the breaks that you need. And they're very digestible. They have great production. It's very, very easy to learn. And an up and coming YouTube channel is called Scott Beek's RoundNet Coaching, and he posts like instructive tutorials on like how to better play RoundNet, and he's got some really, really good videos on there. Taking anyone from like contender all the way up there. So a lot of resources out there. The community is increasing their content production. It's like a great time to get into it right now.
Yeah, thank you for sharing those. And then just one last thing. Do you have anything you'd like to plug for yourself?
I think I would plug the Instagram, RoundNet NYC. Go check that out. It's run by my friend Justin, who runs like the Discord server. But you know, you might see me on there occasionally. I think I was one of the posts on there recently when we all went to Chicago. And yeah, we post highlights. If anyone ever listens to this and they're from New York City, that's a great way to get plugged into the New York City community as well. I'm like very active on that Discord server. I can help bring people out. I can plug people in. And besides that, I think like my biggest plug would just be like, if you ever meet someone, or you know anyone ever mentions to you like, hey, like I really like Spikeball. I like think that I might get into it more. Like I just wish I could play more. Plug them a Discord. Plug them around on Instagram that they can go to. And yeah, you never know who might be like the next person who makes it big.
I can't wait. From newbie to world champion. You got to start. The first step is starting. Eric, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, guys. This is a blast.
A lot of fun. Yeah, good luck in Toronto.
Thank you.
Yeah, and good luck when you face Hans and I as as the next pro team.
we're coming up. Thank you for listening to this episode of This Week I'm Into. Huge thank you to Eric Guan for sharing his passion on Spikeball. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions for the next episode, please reach out at thisweekiminto@gmail.com, and please give us a follow on Instagram at thisweekiminto. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.
And now, a word from our sponsors, but legally they don't actually sponsor us.
Hey there, ball enthusiasts. Have you ever found yourself at a barbecue staring at your friends thinking, man, I wish there was a way to turn this gathering into an epic showdown of agility and skill?
Well, do we have the solution for you? Introducing Spikeball, not sponsored or attempting to infringe on any name trademark. The game that's got more bounce than your Aunt Karen at a 90s dance party.
That's right, Hans. Spikeball is the perfect blend of volleyball, arguing about rules, and sheer unadulterated chaos. It's the only sport where you can spike the ball and your dignity at the same time.
Picture this. You, your best buds, and a round net that's seen more action than either of you. The rules are simple. Hit the ball onto the net so it bounces back at your opponents. The ball just keeps going up and down, just like our faith in this ad.
And don't worry, if you're not exactly a pro athlete, with Spikeball, you can go from clumsy novice to slightly less clumsy novice in just a few games. You'll be diving, spiking, and laughing harder than ever before.
Plus, it's portable. Take it to the beach, the park, your grandma's living room. Okay, maybe not grandma's living room, unless she's really into extreme sports.
And who knows, play long enough, join your local Discord server, and you might just become the next top-ranked premier Spikeball player. You'll be the talk of every party, with people asking, did you hear? Those guys are the top-ranked premier in Spikeball. Right before you hear, what's Spikeball again? That game from Shark Tank?
So, what are you waiting for? Grab your friends, your tripod to record your game, and your sense of adventure. Head over to spikeball.com and use promo code ThisWeekI'mInto for an error in the promo option when you purchase.
That's right, that's spikeball.com, promo code ThisWeekI'mInto, because life's too short for us to tell you if there's an apostrophe in it or not.
Spikeball, get ready to spike up your fun.